Hi everybody, Andy here again. Well, I subscribe to a number of magazines, as magazines seem to grow in number as they want to do. I suppose your interest come along, you spot a new magazine or something, and you think, yeah, I'll subscribe to it, trying to keep the numbers down. But anyway, I was reading one of my magazines today and happened to spot a link. The magazine, which is over there behind me, is actually the latest issue of Wired magazine here in the UK anyway, which I've subscribed to since it started up last year. But there's a little piece in there which I happened to notice about Wired magazine, I believe it is, over there in Italy, and a campaign that they started in Italy. The campaign is called Internet for Peace, and the whole idea of it is to try and nominate the internet for the Nobel Peace Prize for 2010. And I've been onto the website. I've actually joined up to the site, become a member, or it doesn't cost you anything, but just showing support, I think. And the whole, I'll read their sort of manifesto, which they got here. It says, "We have finally realised that the internet is much more than a network of computers. It is an endless web of people. Men and women from every corner of the globe are connecting to one another, thanks to the biggest social interface ever known to humanity. Digital culture has laid the foundations for a new kind of society, and this society is advancing dialogue, debate and consensus through communication, because democracy has always flourished where there is openness, acceptance, discussion and participation, and contact with others has always been the most effective antidote against hatred and conflict. That's why the internet is a tool for peace, and that's why anyone who uses it can sow the seeds of non-violence, and that is why the next Nobel Peace Prize should go to the internet. A Nobel for each and every one of us." And I totally agree with that, so let's get rid of that. And this is one of those things that I know other people have spoken about the internet before. You think about the internet, it's 10 years ago, we couldn't have had this whole debate now about this topic. We couldn't have influenced things by being together, by creating worldwide networks. Social networking didn't exist 10 years ago. Vlogging didn't exist. Blogging didn't exist. We didn't have that way of communicating that, creating that dialogue, sharing our lives with anybody apart from our small vicinity, the people that we knew, the people that we worked with, friends, relatives, neighbours, fairly close community. Now we can share that with everybody in the world. You've only got to look at the dreadful events that are going on in Haiti at the moment. You look at the internet today and over yesterday as well. I know this is happening elsewhere as well, but you just look at the way that the internet is spearheading in some ways the relief effort, the money raising effort. You've only got to look at Twitter and all the other sites that there are. So many internet sites, so many internet services are raising money in one way or another for the relief effort in Haiti. Now, 10 years ago, as I said, that would not have been possible. Just think how much money that is raising. Millions of dollars, millions of pounds probably are being raised in one way or another because and through the internet. That wouldn't have happened, as I said. But the other point of that is, why are people giving that money? Most of us humans are compassionate, I think, and we always give money, we dig into our pockets when we see disasters that befall any particular part of the world, whether they be natural disasters, wars, famines, anything like that. But now we see far more. We see into people's lives far more than we've ever done, because I'm communicating here. This video, hopefully, will be viewed by people across the world. Potentially there are billions of people who could watch this one particular video, as there are for any different video. I communicate with people, as you probably do, with people right across the world. You watch their videos, you watch my videos, we communicate via comments, we've even met people, and I've talked about that side of things, the way that we get to go, that whole social networking element. Yes, we do it with the people that we already knew, but it's opened up a whole new world, literally, that we can get into. We can learn from people, we can get to know people, we can get to know people's ways of life, learn something about countries that we would never be able to visit, probably never will visit, ways of life that we could never really knew existed, or we can learn about them. And the more you know about someone, the more you are less likely to do them harm. Now, this may sound a bit airy-fairy, it's only sort of a nice, peaceful, bunnies hopping around in the field, sort of out of touch reality type of thing. But it's true. I remember seeing a video some years ago by Renato, as it happens, and he said something along the same sort of lines. If you get to know these people, you're less likely to want to drop a bomb on them, for want of a better way of expressing it. And we've seen the way that the internet and the power of people has taken over, to an extent, what is happening in certain countries. If you look at the way that the Green Revolution, or whatever you want to call it, over there in Iran has carried on, and was helped by people like you and me here on the internet. The word gets out. Other issues have happened in Haiti, as I've just said, is another good example. A different one, but another good example of how the internet helps people. It gets you into their lives, and you learn more about them. Education is one of the best ways of stopping hatred, of stopping racism, and ultimately, possibly, of keeping peace going and stopping wars, because governments have to take notice of what's going on now. With Iran was one thing that people like Google and everything, they had to take notice of what that groundswell of opinion, the ordinary people were latching on to what was going on in a country that they know very little about, Iran, people that they never would have communicated with. Once you see someone, once you see into their eyes, once you hear them speak, and once you learn something about their lives and see what it's really like in a country like Iran, or any other for that matter, you take far more interest, you are educated through it, and you feel a lot closer to it. And you influence your governments. Governments have to stand up and take notice of that type of thing. And in the future, possibly, if wars were to come along, or the threat of wars were to come along, something like the internet, which is gaining more and more people to it every single day, every single second, more and more people are logging on, more and more people are blogging, vlogging, making videos, going onto social networking sites, etc. All of those people have votes. All of those people have influence over governments on petitions or whatever it might be. You've only got to look at the way that Twitter builds up something like that. That's only one site, but that's one of the great examples of what can be done, the power of the people. I saw a blog post today, once again, one of those things I never would have seen if it hadn't been for this, and saying about how the way that Twitter has grown over the last year. It's still predominantly an American service, I suppose, or the users are Americans, but that is getting more and more. Places as diverse, the UK is a big user now, Germany, Indonesia, Brazil, Canada, all of those places, and quite different places there, are coming up, and everybody else, as we see how many people are getting onto the internet in somewhere like China, provoking the uprising of the people, shall we say, if we want, creating openness, bringing sort of democracy into the wider world. They're learning about us, they're learning about what happens in a democratic society, or what is supposed to be a democratic society anyway, and we learn about what it's like in their society as well. That can only be a good thing, in my opinion. So the Internet for Peace campaign, I should put the link over there. One of those things I think is a great idea. Yes, I know the internet can be a bad place as well, but the world's a bad place in certain ways. There are lots of people on the internet who are only here for bad reasons, whether it be terrorists, sort of Nazis or racists or whatever it might be, paedophiles, anything like that. Yes, that is there in life. That's not just the internet that's brought those people here. They use this because it is a tool that they can use. We can stop there in other ways, but if we can get together and create bonds across the world, promote the word of peace, or whatever it might be. I know, once again, this sounds very sort of a pie in the sky, I suppose, but I truly believe that ultimately this could be very much a force for good, and I think that's been recognised by the people behind this Internet for Peace campaign. After all, I know that the Nobel Peace Prize this year went to, or was it last year, went to American President Barack Obama, and they gave it to him because of the promise of what he was going to, not because of the deeds that he'd done, but because of the promise that he made of what he was going to do in the future. The internet is full of promise, and I think that's a bigger thing than possibly than President Obama can do. Maybe the most powerful person in the world, I suppose, but the internet is becoming ever more powerful. To me, that's a good thing. Yes, as I said, it could be used for bad ends by anybody, whether it be governments, individuals, organisations, or whatever it might be. But if we band together as people, we can have an even bigger influence. Power to the people and all that has never been quite so prevalent, I don't think, as it is now, and that potential is even better. As I said, education and learning about other people, learning about each other from across the world, all races, colours, creeds, sexualities, all of that stuff, all that big world melting pot. We're learning about it, we're being exposed to it more and more daily, and some of us are probably being educated in the way and are changing our opinions about people. We all have our own little prejudices, I suppose, some of them more extreme than others, obviously, but if you learn something about someone, it changes you. You meet someone from a different ethnic minority or a different sexual preference or something like that for the first time, you might be a bit wary, and that can be understandable in certain circumstances because you've never been exposed to that type of thing before. But when you meet that person, you think, oh, they're just the same as me. And that's the great thing about the internet. The educational side of it is a great thing, a great leveller, and that's what's happened here with YouTube, with the ages of people as well. We're getting together, we're mixing as we never would have mixed before in normal society, if you want to put it that, in the real world. The virtual world in some ways is just as powerful, and it really is a big leveller, I do believe, and that's what we need. World peace is all about levelling things out, not big powerful groups against little groups. Level it out. I suppose it's a bit of a communist type of thing, but no, in a slightly different way, that everybody is treated exactly the same. Look at it in that way, I suppose. So the education side of it, to me, is a great thing. So check the link out, see what you think, but I'd love to know what other people think about this, whether they see it through my eyes, whether they think that I'm being a bit overblowing this and making it far more than what it actually is. But I'm thinking, what is here now, but what the potential for this is as well. I do believe that this has got a great potential for good, as I've already said, probably several times already. So check it out, let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your arguments, whether they be down there in comments or down there in video responses or something like that. So there you go, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for your time, I'll speak to you again soon. Goodbye.